So the Volusia County Bar Association and the League of Women Voters of Volusia County have worked together since 2014 to offer a judicial candidate forum to the community. As soon as the candidates present themselves as potential judges, they are held to a higher standard of accountability. Judges and candidates for judicial office are to protect the impartiality, integrity, and independence of the judiciary and are limited as to what they can say and do while running and while serving as a judge. Judges can't hold office in a political organization. They can't publicly endorse someone for office. They can't ask for money directly. It must go through a committee. And they can't make promises regarding cases, parties, or even general issues. As a result, it's all but impossible to get a candidate to answer questions like, what would you do if X came before you? These limitations and these restrictions may make for boring questions, but it's also very important. So I'd like to go ahead and introduce our moderator, Ann Smith, with the League of Women Voters of Volusia County.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Sarah, I just looked in the chat and people say the video, it needs to be turned up. I don't know whether that's at your end or individual ends.
Can you not hear us speaking, or was it the video volume?
It was the video. It was the video.
My apologies.
Okay.
But can everyone hear us now speaking?
Yeah. Nothing's popping up in the chat except maybe.
Okay, I see some
we're
thumbs up, so that's good. And just a reminder to everyone who hopped on, this is being recorded. So I'm going to ask everyone to make sure you remain muted and keep your video off so that everyone can see the speakers. All right, over to you, Anne. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and good afternoon to everyone, and thank you so much for being here. The first thing I need to do, Ms. Leffler and Ms. Stratis, I have sent a number to Carla Christensen, who you see at the top of the screen, who is the timer. And I want you all to just verbally, I want you to pick a number between 1 and 10 and just say it out loud. Then Carla I'll tell you what the number is, or I'll have her tell you what the number is that I sent. The one closest to the number will be the one to choose whether you do the first closing statement or the last closing statement. And that's important for me as the moderator. All right. Do both of you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. So pick a number between 1 and 10. What was that?
7.
7 and
5.
5. The number, and Carla will verify 7. So that means, Ms. Leffler, you will decide, you get to choose. Do you want to be the first closing statement of 2 minutes or the second?
I'll be the second, please.
All right. So you're going to go 2. All right. Thank you. Had to take care of that. And we're going to, good afternoon. On behalf of the League of Women Voters of Volusia County and the Volusia County Bar Association, welcome to the Circuit 7 Group 26 Candidates Forum. I ask that you enjoy this afternoon as you gather information about the individuals who have so graciously run for office and agreed to be with us this afternoon. I am Ann Smith, a member of the League of Women Voters of Volusia County, and I will be moderating this forum. And Carla Christensen, also a member of the League of Women Voters of Volusia County, will be doing the timing. Before we begin, if you have not already done so, please mute your microphones. I want everyone to remember that the views expressed today are those of the candidates, not the League of Women Voters of Volusia County or the Volusia County Bar Association. Our goal is to provide an avenue where citizens can gather information to help them make an informed decision at the polls. We are both nonpartisan groups, and we neither support political parties nor candidates. We are doing this as a public service. And let me remind everyone, especially our candidates, that we are all neighbors and many of us are friends. So I don't anticipate any need for anything other than to respond to the question about how you feel or what you're thinking, not what anyone else is. Both candidates will answer the same questions. There will be no opening statement and a 2-minute closing comment from both candidates. We will have questions that have been prepared by the Volusia County Bar Association because, as Sarah just stated, there are restrictions as to what judges are allowed to comment. Candidates will have up to 1 minute to answer each question, and I will alternate the order of who responds first. We will be using the Zoom timer that should appear in the left-hand corner of Carla Christensen's screen and be visible to all. The Zoom timer will count down the number of minutes being used when each candidate begins speaking. The time begins the countdown with a green screen, then going to yellow, and finally, for the last 15 seconds, it is pink, and then there's a stop sign Carl is going to use when your time is up. You're also going to hear music played, I hope, with the number of people who are on. We've done it when we've practiced it. So you should hear music too when your 1 minute is up. In fairness to each other, you must not go beyond the time allotted for your comments or answers. Now, do both candidates understand what I'm saying? Do you have any questions at all?
No
I do
questions.
understand. I'm not seeing anything up in the corner, though, that you described.
Do you see Carla Christensen's screen? She doesn't have anything up there right now.
I do not.
So you don't see her screen?
No, ma'am. I see you and I right now.
Then you make sure you're on, make sure you are on gallery. Are you on the gallery? Because you need to be on gallery because you ought to be able to see all of us. You ought to be able to see Miss Leffler as well as yourself, Carla, and me. But you have to change, and
Yeah,
you probably were on
I
speaker.
switched the view. I switched the view, so hopefully that helps. Does that look better for everyone?
No, it hasn't changed for my screen. Miss Stratis, can you see?
I'm still seeing you and I am working on changing it.
Okay. You're on your phone, correct?
I'm sorry?
Are you on your phone?
I am.
Yes, and that may be an issue. I don't know.
If you slide to the right, it should show you a gallery view.
There we go. Yep,
All right, can you see Carla now?
I sure can.
All right, and Carla, hold up the signs you're going to duplicate it with just so you'll see. Yellow is 24 seconds. Pink means you've got 15 seconds. And then in addition to you're going to see that. So if there are no questions, we will begin. Let's go. It is my pleasure to introduce our candidates for this afternoon. They are Carleen Leffler and Miss Jeanne Stratis. The first question we will begin with, since there is no opening comment, is And we will start, I'm going to do this in alphabetical order. So we will start with you, Ms. Leffler. Why did you choose to run for judge and why this particular seat?
Thank you. This particular seat was easy because it is an open seat and it was not me running against a sitting judge. When Judge Rowe announced his retirement, I decided I was going to run for his open seat. Why I decided to run is because I feel our judiciary is stronger when we have judges from a diverse legal background. And what I mean by that is our circuit courts handle much more than criminal law. They handle everything from family, probate, cases over $50,000 in value, so corporate cases, real estate. And so when we have judges that have experience in the variety of laws that our judges hear, our bench is stronger. And so that is why I decided to run.
Thank you very much. Ms. Stratis, the same question. Why did you decide to run for judge and why this seat?
Well, my answer for why this seat is going to be the same. It became an open seat when Judge Rowe announced his retirement. So that's the easy question. Why I decided to run for judge, I've been working for the state for 25 years, and it's been an absolute privilege. But I've also been putting in through the JNC for a few years to become a judge, and it hasn't happened that way, and then this spot opened up. Again, I have been blessed to have the career that I have, but I think it's time for me to step up and do a little more from the bench. I'm not afraid to make tough decisions. I've been doing that for 25 years. And it's what I'm meant to do. I love the courtroom and I can't imagine being anywhere else.
Thank you. This question really piggybacks on the last one and you've started it. Because Ms. Stratis, you will be answering this one first. Describe the nature and extent of your experience with a pro se litigant. What differences, if there are any, would you implement from the bench on the case?
Well, I've actually had to try a felony jury trial with a pro se litigant. It was a robbery trial several years ago. So we don't get as many pro se litigants in felony court, but occasionally it happens. And boy, was that an interesting experience, to say the least. You know, I had to really be cautious a little more so to make sure that my witnesses were on board and didn't react when a defendant was questioning my victim. I had to make sure to have no reaction when the defendant turned and yelled at me in front of the jury. So, you know, it was tough, but I managed to get through it. On the bench, pro se litigants have to be responsible for themselves. I can't give them any extra help, certainly, but I can take a little more time with them. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Leffler, the same question.
Okay. I have had lots of experience with self-represented individuals. In my probate practice in particular, a lot of beneficiaries as well as creditors often represent themselves. And so it sometimes can lead to delays in the case as well as frustrations on both sides that I have learned to handle by being clear in what is going on, the procedure, as well as why things are done the way they are, while still having to advocate for my client. Similarly, if I become judge, it's the same thing. Clear communication while not crossing the line into legal advice. Clear communication on court procedures, on why you are ruling the way you're ruling. All of that plays a part in making sure that self-represented individuals still have their day in court.
Thank you. Ms. Leffler, you get this question first, the next one. Please describe your legal background that you think makes you a good judicial candidate, including areas of practice, years of practice, and percentages of practice with the Seventh Circuit and other circuits.
Okay. I have been practicing law since 2012. I have most recently practiced in probate, corporate, real estate, as well as estate planning. The percentages are kind of jumbled in there, but I want to say they're around 45% in probate, 45 to 50% probate, equal with estate planning. And then usually it's 5 to 5 of corporate as well as real estate. However, with probate, I do end up practicing a lot in the other areas of law. So a lot of my experience through the probate course, through the probate courts include real estate contracts, foreclosures, dealing with corporations that are going through there and understanding those corporations. So it is much more than the percentages may reflect. I also have experience running my own firm, being in a large firm, as well as working in-house counsel. And so all of those lend themselves to practices on the bench.
Thank you. Ms. Stratis, if you will answer that question, please. And I can repeat it if you would like.
I think I've got it. Well, my legal background, I've been practicing for 25 years. I've been with the state attorney's office virtually the entire time. During my first year, I did leave for a few months to try private practice, but I just was not in the courtroom and decided to come back to the state to get back in the courtroom. However, while with the state, I've been in the juvenile division a few times, so I have a little bit of experience with dependency, as well as obviously delinquency, and handling the kinds of cases I do, homicides and sex crimes, and mostly the sex crimes areas where this comes in. Dependency often gets involved. There's some family law issues that kind of creep in, so I'm not entirely unfamiliar with it. But again, being with the state, the majority of my practice is in fact criminal prosecution.
Thank you. Question 4, and Ms. Stratis, we'll begin with you. Outside of the legal profession and legal associations, describe your involvement in the Seventh Circuit community.
So I'm a proud member of the Rotary Club of DeLand, almost 3 years now. And so I've been able to work with the club to do lots of community events, lots of fundraising. We just finished our RILA, the Rotary Youth Leadership Awards weekend, where I get to interact with, I think we had almost 100 students from all over our district come in, and I handle the teen court portion of that. So I work with court administration to set up teen court night for all of our kids who act as prosecutors, defense attorneys, the defendants, the juries. I also chair the Bowling for Literacy event, which is actually coming up soon, where we were able last year to get every student in West Volusia their very own Sunshine Reader Award book. So my Rotary involvement is quite extensive in the community.
Thank you very much. You went out and in a little bit that time. I don't know whether you're moving, but just so you're aware of that. At the very end. Ms. Leffler, the same question.
So community involvement is really important to me. I have been a Rotarian for 8 years. I'm the past president of my Rotary Club, which is the Rotary Club of Downtown Ormond Beach. I'm also a past assistant governor for Rotary District 6970. So I'm very involved in everything that Rotary does, and I am proud to be a Rotarian. I also just recently ended my term on the Women United Volusia board. I served for 4 years on that board, having co-chaired their Power of the Purse event for the last 2, before deciding to step off this year for the first time in 4 years. In addition to that, I also have previously been a member of the Junior League of Daytona Beach, and I am currently active in the chambers. So I serve as legal counsel for the Port Orange South Daytona Chamber of Commerce, and I believe strongly in getting out there to support our local businesses.
Thank you very much. Ms. Stratis, the same question, please.
So I just answered it first.
Oh, I'm sorry. Ms. Leffler, thank you. Ms. Leffler, question number 5. How will you handle large dockets and backlog of cases in the court system?
So I'm used to handling what is a large docket for civil matters, but with anything that is massive in quantities, you handle it with preparation as well as organization. Having systems in place to organize what is there, as well as being prepared for those and having a system for preparing for those cases is how I would handle such a large docket, especially one that I have no experience over each and every one of those matters prior to taking the bench.
Thank you. Ms. Stratis, the same question.
Thank you. Well, I'm accustomed to handling large dockets. Since at the state attorney's office we're assigned to a docket, we have a large caseload. That's what I'm pretty familiar with. Taking over a docket, though, from the bench would be somewhat different. Typically, what I do in practice is go through all my cases and feel out what stage each case is in. As a judge, what I would love to do is meet with the attorneys on each side and say, hey, what are we close to resolving? What are we far away from? Start getting things teed up on a discovery calendar, if you will, a discovery schedule, see what we're going to be doing for trial so we can prioritize and get things in proper order to get the docket maintained.
Thank you. Ms. Stratis, question number 6. Who are your judicial role models and why?
Tons of them. S. James Foxman was my first felony judge, and he was an incredible teaching judge. And what I just talked about, getting the attorneys together to sort things out, that's something he did at pre-trials, at docket soundings. So he had all of us go back to chambers, hash everything out, see where we were, then go into the courtroom and start taking care of business in the most orderly way possible. And that's why I mentioned that as what I'd like to do once I become a judge. You know, Jim Clayton, boy, oh boy, he could move a docket like nobody's business. He did the same kind of thing, though. He'd talk to the attorneys, find out where are we on each case, what can we move, what needs to take a little more time, and give each case the time it needs and deserves, but keep things moving.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Leffler?
Thank you. So I actually have two that I would bring that immediately pop to mind. First would be actually my great uncle, who was a circuit judge, Ken Leffler. He was a circuit judge in the 18th Circuit. Him combined with my grandfather, Wesley Fink, who was an attorney around here, they instilled upon me an early age a respect for the court, a respect for judges, and also how judges should hold themselves, how they should hold themselves above all with fairness, impartiality, and humility. And so they instilled those philosophies in me that when you go into a courtroom, that is a chance for every individual to be heard. Okay. In addition to that, I also have Judge Deering, not Judge Katie Deering, her father-in-law from the Fourth Judicial Circuit. When I was a young attorney, he taught one of the first CLEs that I ever went to, and he was always very close with educating young attorneys, making sure that they know what's going on and not in a case situation where they have to be impartial.
Thank you. Ms. Leffler, question 7. What aspect from both your personal background and professional background do you feel qualifies you the most to be a judge and why?
So that's an interesting question because until a few years ago, I actually did not feel qualified to be a judge. I didn't feel qualified because I don't have ample trial experience like some other trial or some other attorneys. However, a friend of mine reminded me that our circuit court hears so much more than just criminal cases than just having trials. Less than 1% of cases go to jury trial in civil matters. And so when you think about that, you think about all the cases that the circuit judges handle, including family, corporate disputes, real estate disputes, and probate. I realized that my experience, having practiced in many of those areas, is what would benefit our bench and what would qualify me to be a judge. Additionally, having had my own practice, having to sit there and be somebody that's in the shoes of those that go before the court also has uniquely qualified me.
Thank you very much. By the way, for those of you who are participating, Carla Christensen cannot hear the music. We can, but she can't. So we have to sort of let it run its course before I open my mouth again, just so you'll be aware. Ms. Stratis, the same question, please.
Thank you. So my role as a prosecutor is not that far off from a judge in some circumstances. As we all know, judges are impartial. They have to make a ruling based on the law as it is and not with any sympathy or bias or any of that for anyone. When I'm making a filing decision, when I'm reviewing a case, I have to follow the law as it is written. And I have to make those tough decisions. And one side may not be happy with it, but it is what it is. I have to follow the law. If I can't prove a case beyond a reasonable doubt, I can't file it. A judge, when they make a ruling, they have to follow the law no matter who they might sympathize with. It's strictly following the law. So I'm pretty used to making those tough decisions in that way. Also, being assigned to a docket, I'm used to working with all of the entities that go into running a courtroom smoothly, court admin, the sheriff's office, clerk's office, etc. So I believe that that has given me a unique opportunity to prepare for this role as a judge.
Thank you. Ms. Stratis, how would you respond to opposing attorneys that are uncooperative? What is a key component to professionalism and civility in the courtroom?
Well, I think sometimes just having a simple, calm conversation works wonders. If they're uncooperative with each other, if I have to say, hey guys, let's have a little conversation and talk about how we're going to speak with each other and get the business done. Because we all know if everyone's fighting each other, the attorneys, I mean, and we're being disrespectful and ugly, nothing is going to get done. Going back to my days with Judge Foxman, one of the things he did every morning, he started off with a cup of coffee. He made coffee for everyone, and he would usher us back so we could all say good morning to each other, how was your weekend, and be civil with each other before we went into the courtroom. And that was a wonderful reminder that we are to be civil to each other, both in and out of the courtroom. And I just remember that simple conversation in the morning did wonders for us getting work done then later on inside the courtroom.
Thank you. Ms. Leffler? Whoop, hold on. Ms. Leffler.
Civility starts with the judge. Okay, so the judge sets the tone, much like Ms. Stratis was saying. The judge sets the tone for the courtroom, sets the tone for the cases that are being heard before it. If the judge acts prepared and with civility, then the lawyers usually will follow suit. Okay, that doesn't always happen. In my own personal career, I've had to deal with individuals that are self-represented as well as opposing counsel that are not always the nicest to deal with, the most respectful. But I have found that you are more likely to get through to somebody by responding with respect, responding with courtesy that they are not showing you. So still responding with it. And sometimes that means being a little bit firmer than you may usually be, but it's still a firmness with respect lined in it.
Thank you. Question number 9. How do you define injustice? How will you deal with injustice when you confront it in your classroom? I mean, in your courtroom. Excuse me, I was a teacher. In your courtroom.
Is that a question for me?
Yes.
Okay. So injustice occurs in my mind when individuals are not afforded the opportunity to be heard, not afforded the opportunity to have their cases listened to, the evidence actually reviewed, listened to, the case law looked at. Okay. That to me is an injustice. Our courts are founded on the ability for everybody to be able to be heard. They have their day in court. And so as a judge, I would try to avoid injustice by allowing people, allowing everybody that comes before the court their time to speak, not making an assumption or my mind before going into the court, going into every case with an open mind, listening to what is presented, listening and reviewing the evidence, as well as being prepared by reviewing the case law prior to and making an order based off of the law as it stands and keeping those orders consistent across all cases.
Thank you. Ms. Stratis?
Thank you. Yeah, not giving each side equal opportunity to be heard would be an injustice. So I would agree. Both sides get their fair shake at it. Otherwise, we have an injustice. The other thing I point out is, following the law consistently as it is written, that's the only way to do things. Because if you don't follow the law as a judge, then one side is not getting a fair shake. And that's certainly the definition of injustice in my mind. Following the rules of procedure, the rules of evidence, that kind of stuff. It is quite particular. It's not difficult to do at all, but it's got to be done, and it's got to be done consistently and thoroughly. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, question number 10, Ms. Stratis. What are some ways that you would provide encouragement, guidance, membership to young lawyers in your courtroom?
Well, what I would love to do is be able to talk to the attorneys that are in front of me one-on-one once the case is resolved and there's no conflict, and compliment them when they're doing a good job. Let them know, hey, that was a really great argument. Hey, you did a great job in that trial. Let them know when they're doing things right. And if there's a bit of an issue, pull them aside quietly and say, hey, maybe we think this, maybe, say this a different way, because maybe someone doesn't always understand how it might come across. We prepare in advance for our motions, for our trials, for everything. And sometimes we kind of get blinders on. So sometimes we may not realize how things come across, but I think it can be done very effectively if you just have a little one-on-one conversation with the attorneys that come before you.
Thank you. Ms. Leffler, the same question, please.
So I have a little bit of a unique perspective on it because I have been involved in so many Young Lawyers Division activities for the Florida Bar as well as the Volusia County Bar. And one of the biggest things that I have come to realize is necessary for young lawyers is mentorship. Okay. And so that leads me back to Judge Staring. The mentorship and the education that he was offering to young lawyers, not when they have cases in front of him that there might be a conflict, but when stuff is resolved, having those young lawyers, encouraging them to reach out to other individuals practicing in their area of law, and really being a huge proponent of mentoring programs amongst lawyers. So the other flip side to that is in the courtroom, being very clear in what the rules are, what your order is, and why your order is the way it is. Those are ways that you can help a young lawyer without crossing any bounds.
Thank you very much. All right, this is the last question before closing comments. So question number 11, other than trustworthiness, fairness, and lack of bias, what two characteristics do you feel are most important for a judge to have and why?
That's me.
Nothing? So
No, no,
that's
no.
it.
I'm asking if it was me.
Oh, yes, I thought maybe you didn't hear me. Yes,
Oh,
I'm sorry, Miss
sorry.
Leffler.
No, so preparation and humility. Those are two things right off the bat that I would say are necessary for judges. Preparation, because every case deserves to be heard with an open mind, but also by a judge that has prepared in reading everything that has been filed, so that they're going into the case knowing the general background, being prepared for potentially what the arguments are going to be. So that is preparation. Humility, understanding that every decision, every order that a judge makes can impact somebody's life. It can impact it minor or be a minor impact, or it can be a great impact to them. But every decision impacts the person that's in front of them's lives. And so both humility and preparation are key to being a good judge.
All right, thank you. And Ms. Stratis?
Thank you so much. I think patience is a huge factor and something that as a circuit judge, we have to be very good about. You know, we have all kinds of cases that might come before us. We might have folks like the unrepresented who are self-representing themselves and aren't familiar with the law, and things may take a little longer, but we have to have patience with those individuals. We may inherit a docket that's getting a little bulked up. We have to have patience in working through it. Preparation, I would agree absolutely 100%. The judge needs to be prepared, as do the attorneys that come before the judge. And with both patience and preparation, I think a docket can run very, very smoothly.
All right, thank you. Let's give our candidates, we're going to have closing comments, but thank you so much for coming. And so now you get the opportunity to 2 minutes, and you get all the 2 minutes. So don't get nervous if you see the sign that says 24 seconds or 15 seconds. Just do your thing, and because this is the last of what you'll be able to say. So Ms. Stratis, because Ms. Leffler got the number and chose to be the second speaker, you will give your closing 2-minute comment. You're on.
Well, thank you. Well, I think we're both probably experts at the 2-minute time frame by now, because that's all we typically get. Sometimes it's only one, so I think we'll be okay. For those of you who don't know, and a lot of you do, I've been with the state attorney's office for 25 years. I've been in the courtroom for 25 years, and I absolutely love it. When I went to law school, I had no idea that I would love the courtroom. In fact, I was totally against going into the courtroom. I didn't think I could do it. And a friend of mine wanted a trial ad partner. I went ahead with it. I told him, listen, if we bomb, you did this to yourself. You can't blame me. You can't complain. And turns out he saw something in me that I didn't know was there. And from then on, I have loved being in the courtroom. I can't imagine being anywhere else. And as I said, working for the state, I think has trained me to make these tough decisions that judges have to make, follow the law as it is written without sympathy, without feeling, one way towards one party or against another party. That's what I've been doing for 25 years. I've been managing a docket for all this time too, although from the state's perspective, but still the idea of managing a docket, managing a caseload, working with all of the parties that go into running a courtroom smoothly. As I said, the clerk's office, court administration, the sheriff's office, the attorneys, of course. That's a big undertaking, and that's something that I've been doing my whole career, and I hope to continue to do it from the bench. I'm currently in the career criminal unit, handling homicides, sex crimes, crimes against kids, and I have 25 years of trial experience, but also I'm the lead on my docket. So I get to help and mentor the attorneys, the line attorneys that are assigned to my docket throughout the years as well. So again, I think my career as a prosecutor has done wonders. Being in the courtroom is where I love to be. It's my professional home, and I just love it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Leffler, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. And thank you first to the organizers, as well as to Jeannie for being here today, as well as to everyone who took time in the middle of their Monday to be here to listen. This election is about choosing who is best prepared to take the bench in the Seventh Judicial Circuit. It's not a popularity contest. It's simply deciding who is best. And throughout my career, I've had the amazing opportunity to represent individuals, families, and businesses in a multitude of different scenarios. Some of the best times of their life and some of the worst times of their life. Like I said earlier, I practice primarily in probate, estate planning, corporate, and real estate, but I have also had experience in family law as well as third-party practice and insurance. While I don't practice those regularly now, I do. I do have experience in them. And overall, the major thing that these areas of law have taught me, my career has taught me, is the ability to research, listen carefully, and analyze facts, apply the law, and communicate clearly. I have to communicate to clients that do not have a legal background. I have to communicate to other people in cases that do not have a legal background. And the ability to be able to communicate on multiple different levels of education and experience is invaluable and something that I believe will benefit the circuit court. And so I believe our judiciary is stronger when we have judges, civil judges that step up to take the risk to try to be on the bench. And for that reason, I decided to run, and I would be honored to bring all of the experience I have had with my clients throughout the years to the bench and the experience to be able to listen to every case and decide the facts, decide the ruling based off of the facts presented, based off of the law that is there.
Thank you. Well, thank you again to everyone. I just want to remind everyone, and I know you don't need the reminder or you wouldn't be here today, but it really is your right to vote. That is a right we have been given. But more importantly, we believe it's your obligation to vote. Your vote does count. And it is incumbent upon each of us. And even though this is a nonpartisan race, we probably are all nonpartisan or were at one time. And that doesn't matter. You need to vote and you need to encourage your neighbors to vote. Let me remind everyone that this coming Tuesday, August the 18th, is the primary. And one of these two ladies will no longer be called Miss or Mrs. They will be called Judge because, and excuse my house phone, and they will be elected in the primary. So let's work as a community to not have only 26% of the voting population of Volusia County show up to vote in the primary. We need to have more support for these candidates who are running and who are putting themselves on the line and saying to us, vote for me because I will do the better job. Well, that is up to us to let them know who we believe will do the better job. So thank you again to everyone. Sarah is going to now give you instructions on the straw poll we are going to take. Sarah?
Yes. So hopefully you can see my screen. You can either scan the QR code or you can go to menti, menti.com and use the code here and vote for Miss Leffler or Miss Stratis. The results won't be shown, but they will be posted tomorrow or later today with the recording as well. So everyone who registered will receive the recording as well as the results of the vote. So please vote. This is just a straw poll. So nothing official, just for our own records. And I just want to echo everyone's statements. Thank you again so much for being here and taking the time to get to know our judicial candidates better. And yes, show up to vote. Thank you all.